The Sapphire Desire by Kyle Eugene Snyder. Prologue. Depending on how one sees it, greed can be either a powerful ally or a powerful enemy. It can motivate someone to do whatever is needed to gain what is desired. It can impair reason and logic, causing the person to forget what is most important in life. Some see greed as an aspect of human nature. Others see it as sin. No matter how it is described, it is something everyone experiences in life. Whether one feels greed or is a witness or victim of this vice, it is something that has occurred throughout history. Such was the case with Iridia, an ancient desert kingdom rumored to hold a treasure that could grant any wish to anyone who raised it above his or her head and declared the wish aloud. This treasure was known as the Sapphire Desire. Very few heard about the Sapphire Desire. Many dismissed the treasure as a myth, claiming that such a thing did not truly exist. No matter how one viewed the story about the Sapphire Desire, the story about the treasure eventually reached other villages and kingdoms. Greed took root for a nearby kingdom that demanded that Iridia revealed the existence of this priceless treasure. The king of Iridia would not comply with such a demand, causing a war to be fought between the two kingdoms. Several lives were lost over something that could not be taken as truth or fairy tale. Eventually, the war ended. However, it was not without great sorrow. The people of Iridia were all killed by this great conflict, and the kingdom was left in ruins with only a handful of buildings and houses still standing. The army of the other kingdom searched high and low for the Sapphire Desire, following the order of the king to bring back the rumored treasure. After what seemed to be several days searching throughout the fallen kingdom of Iridia, such a treasure could not be found. Concluding that the Sapphire Desire never truly existed, the king of the other kingdom ordered the army to return back to their homeland to prepare for other conflicts that would arise in years to come. The rumors of the treasure were less frequently told after it was believed that the Sapphire Desire was nothing more than a hoax. 200 years have passed since the great destruction of Iridia. To many, life was normal. The war fought a long time ago was forgotten by many, and there was almost no mention of the Sapphire Desire ever again. However, two villagers of a small, nearby village called Ward heard the story of this fabled treasure. These two villagers, Jordan and Amy, who were brother and sister to each other, decided to find out for themselves if the myth was actually true. Despite everyone else who heard the story dismissing the treasure as a hoax, Jordan and Amy would not be discouraged easily as they set off for the search of the mythical Sapphire Desire. Chapter 1. As the sun rose on the village of Ward, Jordan and Amy had already begun on their path southward towards Iridia. Both had sufficient food and supplies packed for their quest they decided to undertake. Regarding equipment, both wore light-plated body armor made of steel. Jordan's weapon was a one-handed sword, and Amy's weapon was a spear. It took them quite some time to earn the money needed to purchase such equipment. However, they decided that such equipment was needed before attempting to find the Sapphire Desire, if it did in fact exist. Jordan was 2 years older than his sister. He had short, dark hair with blue eyes, was about medium height and lightweight. Although he did not have the look of a warrior, he was still fast with his sword, as his training prior to this adventure helped him gain such speed. Amy was slightly shorter than Jordan. She had medium-length brown hair with green eyes. Many villagers of Ward thought of it as unusual for a woman to use a spear as a weapon in battle. She had about the same amount of training as his brother. Amy's skill with the spear was paramount compared to others. The amount of time needed to go to Iridia from Ward takes less than a day by foot. However, no one from Ward has ever recommended setting foot in such a desolate kingdom. Some have heard of raiders pillaging and assaulting unsuspecting travelers from victims who once tried to explore the ruins. Others have told rumors of beasts and monsters running through the once proud kingdom. Jordan and Amy made sure to prepare for such encounters if they ever should experience them. "Do you really believe the Sapphire Desire exists?" Jordan asked his sister. "If we end up failing to find it, we would look like fools to everyone. Many have searched for it before us and have failed to locate this treasure." "I know it exists, brother," Amy answered. "If it didn't exist, wouldn't it have been easier for the king back then to just tell everyone that it was a fairy tale? I don't believe it is a hoax. We will find it." "I hope your logic is correct," Jordan said. "My logic is always correct," Amy replied. "Is that so?" Jordan replied back. "If your logic is always correct, then why hasn't it been during all the other get-rich-quick schemes you and I have tried in past years? We've tried secret recipe cooking, we've tried miracle gardening, we've tried many other things to get rich quick, but the villagers obviously didn't buy into those things. Now you think if we find this treasure that we may or may not... that may or may not exist, we'll be able to use it to wish to become rich instantly. This time it's different," Amy assured Jordan. "I've heard that one before," Jordan said. "I mean it this time," Amy said back. "I've heard that one as well," Jordan replied. "Well, you won't doubt me once we get our hands on the Sapphire Desire," Amy said with conviction. "I promise you that all the hard work we put into preparing for this search will pay off in the end. We obviously can't expect to find the Sapphire Desire the moment we step into Iridia. However, there's bound to be other treasures for us to find there that will help us become rich. We've been warned not to go into the ruins because of some raiders that have injured others, or some monsters that may or may not exist, but not even those dangers can be enough to stop the both of us. We've prepared our bodies and practiced with our weapons long enough to fight off any danger that we'll encounter. If we do run into any monsters in Iridia, what kind of do you think we will fight?" Jordan asked. "To be honest, I think the part of the monsters running around Iridia was just made up to scare people out of exploring the ruins," Amy answered. "I can't imagine seeing any creatures that would want to live in a ghost kingdom. It would be like you and me living in a graveyard. It's not going to happen until we're both dead and buried deep in the ground." "What about the raiders?" Jordan asked. "They will definitely be a threat to us." "They may try to sneak up on us at times when we may not expect it," Amy instructed Jordan. "Since there's two of us, we'll be able to detect surprise attacks more easily than if we were alone. Obviously, they'll have weapons with them, most likely swords and knives. So that's where our weapon training comes into play. It was important that we trained on different melee weapons for different situations. In case a raider may be strong in sword-to-sword combat, my spear skills will have an advantage. One thing to keep in mind is that we must make sure we don't run into too many raiders. If we do, we'll be in big trouble." "You sure had everything figured out before we left Ward," Jordan praised Amy. "Like I said, my logic is always correct," Amy said. "We'll find the Sapphire Desire, prevent any raiders from stopping us, and use the wish to become rich." After many hours of walking, Jordan and Amy finally reached the outside of the ruined desert kingdom of Iridia. It was just like what they were told what Iridia would look like. Many of the large buildings were destroyed, although some were still standing. There were small houses that were still standing as well, but the conditions of such houses was poor. The size of the kingdom was so large that it would not be possible to explore in a single day, but rather it would take many days. "We've finally arrived," Sister Jordan said. "Indeed we have," Amy said. "Now let's start our search for the Sapphire Desire."